A goal, Quishbilly, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hola, senors and senoritas, and bienvenido to episode 119 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. The Terriers march into the Championship top six after a gritty Yorkshire derby victory at home to Hull. We'll take a look back on the game as well as some of the other news and features coming out of HD1. This week, we're celebrating another good managerial showing by Carlos Corberán and the team, and Kosi is so enamoured that he's headed out to Spain in honour of Town's boss. After having plenty of fizzy carbs in Marbs, it's El Coso Loco Richard Kosmala. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, mate. It's good to watch legal Huddersfield Town content abroad.
As always, every week when he's not there, of course. With us, a man who is more understated in his celebration. So you just had a paella for tea. It's Dan Pozza Porrit. You okay, buddy?
Yeah, not bad, mate. You?
I'm not bad. I had about 30 complaints last week after your microphone escapade, so hopefully this week you are more in tune with the mic. And
some would say it's probably a good thing, Matthew, but I couldn't hear what I was saying.
Plenty did. With us as well. With us, and when you need a big guest, you go fishing. And today we've reeled in a whopper. It's Ollie Fisher. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, great. Thank you for the very friendly welcome, as always.
Always, mate. And I'm your host, El Matashaw. So, right, guys, before we get going, this episode, as always, is sponsored by the brilliant Magic Rock Brewing. Magic Rock is open. So Wednesday night, we've got Birmingham City coming up. Get yourselves down there for a bit of pre-match fluid down there. It's a great
Matt, it's available in Marbella. There's not a Magic Rock bar, but they're trialing their beer over there. The guy was telling me last night. So
it's spreading, mate. It's spreading.
It's incredible, mate. So come to Spain, San Miguel, no. Mau, no. Magic Rock, see.
Get that on an advert. Get that on a poster.
I know. Oh, that's brilliant. Right, guys. So let's talk about Huddersfield Town 2, Hull 0. We've won again. Amazing. We made a great start to this game, I thought. Tom Lee sent the warning signs nice and early with Ingram. The Hull goalkeeper made a decent block from the first Daniel Sinani set piece. Second one, not to be denied. I think the goalkeeper probably won't look back too fondly on this one. He punched it up in the air. It was returned back in, and Tom Lees is there to nod home. Great start, pause, and one that we fully deserved after 9 minutes.
Yeah, really good, mate. Yeah, like I said, warning times were there. Bit of a strange goal, to be fair. One of them that as soon as it went in, I sort of looked across the linesman and looked at ref because it was a bit of a scrappy goal, wasn't it? And you see them chalked off sometimes. So it was nice to see the flag stay down and be a nice little goal and decent scenes there early on in the corner with the Kilner and South stand, and it got us off to a flying start. I thought we'd done well for the opening part of the game anyway, to be fair. So it was no more than we deserved. First 10 minutes we were out of the traps, which were great to see. And like I said, took the lead, another set piece. So I'm just looking at Kosi trying to eat that hot dog.
He's still trying to open that ketchup sachet.
We had a lot more success with our set pieces this year than he seems to be having with that opening tomato sauce. So it was no more than we deserved, I thought, after 10 minutes. Yeah,
fantastic. Ollie as well. Daniel Sinani, the team itself was maybe a little bit of a surprise because after the last international break, I think Daniel Sinani had a bit of a rest, but, he's thrown into the lineup. Sorba Thomas thrown in as well. And, the guys delivering from out wide again, both goals from set pieces, technically. Sorba, I think he's got a bit of a lucky assist this time because his corner went sailing over everybody to Duane, and Duane's returned it with interest, as they say. But this game was a really interesting one. Hull came back into it. I thought this was a really decent contest. Hull came back in, Town came back, Hull came back. It was a bit of a cagey boxing match, if you like, in many ways. And Grant McCann post-match really summed it up. He said Hull were decent between both boxes, but not in either box. And I think that really summed up why Huddersfield won this game, because Huddersfield were clinical in the box, and defensively, Kosi, Oli, I'll throw this to both of you. Levi Colwill, excellent at the back once again, and he's a player who's really filling out now and coming into his own.
Yeah, honestly, Matt, I think it's very psychological with us now. I saw Grant McCann's comments on that as well. I think teams are coming in knowing that we're really good at set pieces. And it's almost like if I were kind of looking at these other teams that were playing their training ground, like 2, 3, 4 days before the game, it's all about set pieces. We've got to concentrate. Huddersfield are good at this. And they were haunted by it, mate. And I thought the keeper, he kind of seemed to be briefed on, what he should do in that as well. And I thought they really were overthinking it and that as well. I thought it was a big error from the keeper. And I just think it's really good that we're getting into people's heads now, Matt. And I think, he's seen his post-match comments and that as well. I couldn't, I agree totally with what it says, like box to box, they had no threat. I felt that. I watched their game against Sheffield out the other week and, again, didn't think they had any threat at all. But I think it's really good, mate. We're kind of posing issues. We're not. It made me laugh. We were having a chat today. It's like, we're not like the Wimbledon because we're playing some nice football, but it's not the most exciting. But we are good at what we do, and then set pieces. I think teams are spooked out, and that's one that would have kind of contretemps on that as well. That's quite a word, isn't it? And that's a French word, isn't it? But between the guy who I forgot his name for Hull, Sunderland, he used to play for them, and that's on midfielder.
George
Honeyman. George Honeyman, and there were a bit of kind of to and fro and stuff. The referee were kind of pulled towards it, and I don't think they switched back on, Matt. And again, we got in there. I think psychologically, Huddersfield Town set pieces is really getting on the team's heads. I love it, mate. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I'd like to see a bit more exciting football, but when we've got a set piece. I posted that tweet today. I cannot remember it. People were saying Kingdon team 79-80, but I can't obviously remember that. But I don't remember a Town team set piece wise. I mean, probably Steve Chicken will wheel out the stats, tomorrow or today and stuff like that. So it's incredible. I mean, like, again, I know it would have kind of broken down the corner that came back in and that as well.
I'm going to bore you here because I was going to do an article.
He's got him, man.
No, I was going to do an article last year because on corners specifically and how many goals we score from corners in certain areas. And it never saw the light of day because the Opta-stats don't go back to when we had Gary Roberts and Pilkington. So I couldn't cross-reference, the likes of Aramoy, Tommins, etc. to Gary Roberts, because I remember Gary Roberts getting around 10 goals from 10 assists one season from a corner. His in-swinging corners are absolutely superb, but that's the last one really that I can remember. Cause
But I'll shit though every time. Ollie, you back me up, and even Aramoy, the ball print. Every time we got a corner, we're like, you might as well have gone for a pie or a pint or something because it would never let anything good come of it. It's incredible now. Free kick, dead ball, anything. I just think we're going to score. And honestly, total credit to Carlos because it's a real issue, and that's all for other teams, and they can't seem to cope with it. And it's getting in their heads. I saw that we all they couldn't cope with us, mate, on them set pieces.
I don't think sometimes football can be overcomplicated by people. I think it's funny how we've gone from a manager in Danny Cowley and obviously Nicky Cowley, who were really, they put a lot of emphasis on set pieces and the value added that you can get from set pieces. An extra 20% on your goals scored, and you can cut out 20% if you can defend them well. And then last season and how we've played under Carlos so far, the emphasis perhaps couldn't have been on anything more the other side of the scale than set pieces. But now I think we've realised the quality that we have from wide areas, and perhaps we've come up with some new routines. I mean, you've seen that one yesterday that led to the goal with all the gathering at the back post and then timing those runs. I mean, it's just little things like that maybe take an hour to work on the training ground, but they can cause teams problems. And I think Kozi's totally right. It's getting in teams' heads now to the extent that they're perhaps looking for stuff that often isn't there. When they're expecting some kind of complicated routine, it's not there, and we just get a near post flick or whatever it might be. Before at the start of the season, Pearson was popping in with the goals, and now Tom Lees is getting some from set pieces. So I think it's like whack-a-mole, isn't it? We're causing threat from multiple different avenues, and that's good to see because, for a long time, I can just remember us being absolutely useless when it comes to set pieces. And finally, as the lads say, we feel like we've got a genuine threat every time a ball goes in.
Kosi, I'll bring you in.
I'll tell you what though, guy. Yeah, sorry. The one thing that Yeah, obviously we've all played football at some kind of level, and that's a crap level. I don't think there's nothing worse morale-wise than conceding a goal like Hull did yesterday. I'd rather have. I mean, the Duane-o-mite one, like they can kick it to bits, but it was a great strike, and we'll come on that later. But that goal, it were horrendous. If I'm a Town fan, like if I'm a Hull fan, seeing that, it breaks my heart. It's like horrible, scruffy goal that could have been avoided. You've worked hard all week on set pieces. You've let a goal in like that, the keeper would have fault and stuff. I think that really, really hurts. And I'd rather see, a bit of quality where you could say, fair play, guys, with nothing we can do about that. And that I think that's such a body blow in that as well. And Tom Lees, he was like, I don't think he would even face it call. What he would kind of like face and kill the back, just like hooked his leg around like a crab. And that's like crab football. You remember that, Poz? And yeah, honestly, I don't care how they come, but I honestly think that other teams are like, really hurt by what we do in that as well. And when you hear about set piece team, you normally think like Big Sam Allardyce or George Graham, etc. But I don't see it like that because I just think we're really good at that. And I wish we were a bit better at some of the outfield stuff. But it really is it hurts teams from that as well. And I don't think we'll ever recovered, even though they had a good patch in the middle. That was a bad goal conceded. McCann said that after the game match.
It did indeed, because he's gone back on mute there. What I want to do as well, guys, is I want to throw out a bit of a well done to Carlos as well, because over the last 10 months or so, we have on occasion been quite critical of Carlos and his substitutions, team selections, etc. Obviously, you are if you only win 1 or 2 games in 20 odd like we had done. But I thought yesterday we've seen a coach or a head coach. He did he went out and did a thing with the disabled. Did like a Q&A with the Huddersfield Town Disabled Association, Supporters Association, which was really great. We saw him do a YouTube video, if you like, with Raj from Huddersfield Town and Stephen Chicken, which I think is painting Carlos in a much better light now this year. Carlos, we're seeing a personality come out from Carlos rather than before we just heard the sound bites, the quite mundane, really sort of dull sound bites, really pre and post match, where he would just tell everybody quite matter of fact what's going on. And we're seeing a bit of a character come out now in Carlos Corberán, which is really good. And what we're also seeing is we're seeing a coach who's learning, a coach who's getting better, which is fantastic really for us, because this is what we all wanted. Nobody really wanted Carlos to be out on the curb. We all wanted to get better as a collective. And what we saw again this weekend is we've seen the use of substitutions has really affected the game positively from Huddersfield. Hull were getting into the game through the middle of the pitch, and he's brought Scott High on. Scott High's done a good job in the middle of the park. He's shored things up, and the momentum of the game switched again. We've reacted to Hull. We've gone to a back 4 when Pearson's gone off injured and Ollie Turton's come back on, and then they've thrown Tom Eaves on, who's a big striker, big dangerous striker, and we've reacted by throwing Naby Sarr on. Who will gloss over Naby's miss kick. But these are the things that are working at the minute, whereas maybe last season these things weren't working, for Carlos. And at the minute, I think you've got to give the coach, great credit for things that are coming through. And, everything's coming up Carlos at the minute, isn't it, Poz?
Yeah, like you say, if you're prepared to criticise, you've got to applaud when things are done well. And one of our biggest gripes, or so what we've discussed on here in the past, is in-game tactical changes. And yesterday, as you say, yesterday probably shifted it around maybe 2 or 3 times to either be proactive and get us on the front foot, or be reactive and change things to shore us up at the back. And I think that second goal from Holmes obviously made it a little bit easier, because the whole war they were getting back into it. Although I never really felt under threat, if I don't know about you, but I never got that feeling that it's coming. They're number 7. He could still be trying to score now. I can't remember his name, but he could still be trying to score now. And he had a bit of a nightmare, didn't he? And he, I think he was trying too hard at some points to score. But even the little things, like when I think it was Sinani made a mistake and Nichols had come out, and it all looked, certainly from where I was, that their striker had just sort of curled it into an empty net, and Tom Lee's got a great block in. And it's when you see things like that, you kind of think it's going to be our day today, because on another occasion, that goes in far corner, and all of a sudden it's a different game there. But yeah, props to Carlos. Is he's, as you say, he's learning, he's improving, and I think it helps this season massively as well that he's probably got a better squad of players to pick from on paper. We sort of did a little bit of analysis on the players that came in, and they weren't massively inspiring. Tom Lees, Matty Pearson, for example, and again, we probably, like a few fans and certainly maybe a few on ears have been left to eat his words a little bit in regards to who we brought in. And, recruitment team have had the fair share of stick, and rightly so for some players that the brought in recently. But I think this season, we've got a great balance. We've got cover in a lot of places where we probably didn't have last year, and we are able to make changes in game and not really affect the quality of the 11 out there.
That's a great.
He did a great job yesterday when he came on, and
it's a great point.
So much more really at the moment.
No, it's a great point, Poz, because you look back to maybe a watershed game last year was Bournemouth away, and bring on Oli as well. You look at Bournemouth, and we threw in Brahima Diarra away at Bournemouth. We got absolutely battered. I think it was 5-0, wasn't it? Brahima Diarra came in. He's a great young player, but it was probably ahead of where he maybe should, was at that time. Aaron Rowe played as a right wing back and really struggled. The strength on the bench just wasn't there. From January onwards, we had a lot of injuries, but now I think Huddersfield have really learned, the recruitment team, Carlos, everyone there has really learned from last season. And it's great to see it and really encouraging. You look at Ollie Turton. Ollie Turton came on. Ollie Turton's never played championship before, but he's 28 years old. He's got, hundreds of games under his belt, and that experience is fantastic. Scott High, Scottish under-21 international now, Scott High. He's really developed from last year. And I really like Scott High. I think he's a smashing little player. Aaron Rowe, when he comes back, I thought Aaron Rowe was great at the end of last season. So some of the hard yards we've put in last season with some of the younger players is bearing fruit, and we've got better options now coming from the bench. And you've also got to throw in the recruitment as well and say, you know what, guys, we've given you stick before for Diakabi, for your Mbenzas, for your Bockhorns, etc. But do you know what? Your Karomas, your Turtons, your Sorba Thomases, keep doing what you're doing, guys, because it's fantastic. And if you do well like this, then people like us don't have agendas against you. If you do good things, we'll say, well done. If you do bad things, we'll just say it how it is. But you've got to sit here and say, do you know what? We're 6th in the league. Everything's going pretty well at the minute. Everything could go down. We're very much aware of that, but everything's going quite well, Ollie. And at the minute, it's a good time, a quarter of the way through the season, to say, do you know what? It's a good analysis point, a good milestone. And we can look back and say, do you know what? Everyone at Huddersfield Town's done really well over the summer, and things are looking bright this year.
Yeah, they are. It feels better. It just feels like a better time to support the club. I think it was my last appearance, or maybe the one before that, everything felt a little bit doom and gloom heading into the season because we weren't inspired by the signings that had come in. The teams that came up, we thought might offer a little bit more than what they have done so far. And people were fearing the worst. And I think that things are going well at Town when people haven't mentioned how many points above the bottom 3 we are for a while, and they haven't, because we're 12 points. Yeah, we're 12 points off the bottom 3, and that is like...
Oh, you've looked.
I've looked. I had to look just to double check, but that is monumental at this stage of the season. And obviously there'll be those who are eager to point out not to get too ahead of ourselves, because we'd started last season very well as well. In that first half of the season, we were looking comfortable, and things tailed off then due to a combination, I think, of injuries and perhaps being sussed out a little bit. But this time around, I don't know how to describe it apart from it feels like Carlos has stopped trying to play 4D chess and he's just playing regular chess now. He's sort of become a bit more streetwise about how to set us up. He realises that trying to play every single team off the park at this level is going to be very difficult to do. I think if you nod to the recruitment, then what you'd probably say is, if there's a little bit of budget there, do you want to go out and get those 1 or 2 players that are going to boost the quality of the starting 11? Or would you rather pull that towards wages of players that are going to be reliable depth options? Given the way that we play, we're always going to have quite a few injuries, throughout the season. And I think we've established it's more important to have players that we can call upon to plug holes. And you mentioned with the substitutions, then just counter moves to whatever Hull we're trying to do to gain a bit of momentum, and we nipped that in the bud. And I think it's just an amalgamation of what has been a very positive season so far. I mean, you look at some of the performances individually. Reading was an example of where we played a very bad side off the park in that game. But then you look at a game like the Blackpool one away from home, where it was 0-0 at half time, and we'd probably been edged in that first half. And yet we came out of it 3-0 winners because we were clinical, because we've got that quality on the day in the final third. Set pieces. Karoma unlocked it with a wonder strike that he's always capable of. And then, as you mentioned before about Carlos being perhaps a bit more vocal, a bit more involved, togetherness is a big thing, especially at a club like ours. We've realised that from the promotion season. We sort of got a sense of what it's like and what it takes to unlock the potential of this football club. And the more togetherness that there is, you think about moves like Hefferley coming back, and you think about all the activities surrounding the club. It just builds this momentum. And when it gets going, it's quite hard to stop us from getting carried away with ourselves. But I think the strength perhaps of this team so far is that we are just taking it a game at a time. Yes, we've beaten a pretty poor Hull side 2-0, but the focus is now on Birmingham. And then obviously the inevitable 4-0 defeat at Bournemouth after that. But, you know, it is what it is, and it's good time. There's a lot of positivity, and that is nice to see.
I think if you'd have said at the start of the season that Huddersfield Town have won a game at home, Josh Caroma wouldn't get 1 minute on the pitch, and Naby Sarr, these were two key. I know Naby were up and down, but these were two massive players for us last season that was so influential. And I mean, to a lesser extent, Fred Campbell, but obviously he did his business last year and that as well. So these three, I mean, Sarr obviously came on last 25 minutes, but nowhere to be involved. That just shows kind of our strength in depth and that as well. And you're right, Ollie, that tight togetherness that I think that's often underestimated in sport and stuff like that as well. I know, you know, not everyone's strength, but Jurgen Klopp, I like what he does at Liverpool because people will say, no, you know, why has he only bought one defender? He should be bringing in this. Man United have bought this, that, and the other. City have bought this, that, and the other. But Klopp bought one guy because he likes a tight squad, kind of, you know, with the players around that, because he don't want to like bring in loads of other players who are not playing and stuff like probably, you know, bringing on like Lingard and stuff like that as well that are not involved. I think there's a lot to be said about, you know, just having a kind of tight togetherness team and stuff like that as well. And yeah, Karoma's a fascinating one because he was massive for us last season and he's nowhere near it. And we don't even need to get him on. The good thing is, obviously with the game on Wednesday night against Birmingham, he's going to be fresh as a daisy and he'll be chomping at the bit to come on and show you what he can do. So yeah, I never thought he's been such a quick turnaround, but the strength in depth on our bench, God, how many times did we bemoan it on this pod last season? And we just no one to bring on and, you know, like you say, the academy, what we're going to embed, could he be asked and stuff. We've got like a good nucleus of now about, you know, 17, 18 players that really give a shit about Huddersfield Town. I don't think that can be underestimated. I don't think we're brilliant, but what I like about it, what I know is like a Bournemouth on God, like you say, Ollie, probably shooting us up for a failure. But I know at Bournemouth last season, like we were just like, you know, not even asked, I didn't think at times. But you know that we're putting a shift down there. We might not be good enough to win. We probably won't. They're, you know, man for man, they're probably better than us. But you know, Huddersfield Town now is going to give 100%. And that, for me, as a fan, and like everyone really, should just be applauding that because it's been a long time since we've had that.
Can hear the crickets now coming in Spain. They're all coming through. Right, let's move on. So Kosi makes a really good point about Josh Caroma not playing, and the man that came in for him was Duane Holmes. Duane Holmes, a little bit he's a character I really like. Duane, I think he's from his social media. I don't know the guy, but from scouting at the club, you know, I've seen Duane around the place. You know, I've seen him interacting with people, you know, different people, and I see him, you know, online. I don't not want to stalk Instagram accounts, etc. But you know, they come up every now and then, and he seems like a really, really sound guy to me. Does Duane Holmes? You know, quite a likable chap. So I always find it really surprising when there's a lot of pushback against him from, you know, Derby fans seem to dislike him, etc. And I always find that quite surprising. So I was really pleased when he got the winner yesterday. Duane, I think he's having a good time of it at the minute. You know, I think they're expecting, you know, him and his other half are expecting a baby, etc. And, you know, well done, Duane, on things. And, you know, yesterday, you look at his figures. Yesterday, he's got 100% dribbling success rate, 87% pass accuracy, which is actually really good for someone who played in the front three. He scored the winner, you know, a great strike. And what I thought was really good, he really enabled Lewis O'Brien to do what Lewis O'Brien did. And Lewis O'Brien was probably the man of the match yesterday. He was phenomenal. He was all over the place. You know, he was taking kicks. You know, he came off with this, you know, a gashed eye, looked like he'd been in a boxing match. But for me, Duane allowed that to happen by just wrapping round, you know, and stopping the counter from when Lewis went, because it's a lot of pressure on Jonathan Hogg. Jonathan Hogg was excellent as well, I thought, during the game. I thought Hoggy was, you know, back to his best, you know, doing what he does, you know, recovering the ball, you know, setting things going again. I thought he was outstanding as well, Hoggy. And, but Duane, you know, he enabled Lewis O'Brien to be really effective by just wrapping around and being tactically astute. And, you know, I'm really pleased, Poz, that Duane came good and had a decent game. And, you know, and hopefully we're looking for more of the same.
Yeah, definitely. We've chatted before about that three. And it were quite interesting to see how it would work yesterday, because we seem to have tried a few different variations of that. We talked about Vallejo setting in a couple of weeks ago, and I thought he did really, really well. And who knows if he hadn't got that injury, would he have cemented that place and sort of pushed Hogg out? But yeah, like you say, those three, you get a lot of energy, don't you, with O'Brien, and when he goes, and it is important that someone does sit in, because you can't just leave Hogg sort of by himself. You need that sort of extra man to sit. And earlier on in the season, you probably wouldn't have got that from Holmes. He were a little bit sort of lackadaisical with his positioning, and I don't think he's ever really nailed down a spot. He's, under Carlos, he's played here, there, and everywhere, which is kind of surprising, given that the rumours were that Carlos wanted Holmes, so you'd expect your number one target to play in the position that you want him to play in. But yeah, he did really well yesterday, and certainly made me eat my words when he picked that ball up and he cut inside. I said to my young one, he was getting excited. I went, don't get excited. He's never going to score from here. And literally 3 seconds later, I'm diving on his head because he's slotted one in back at net. And I think someone like Holmes as well, he's very much a confidence player, so that'll do him well the good. And as you say, things are going well in his private life as well. It transfers onto the pitch. Again, it just feeds into that togetherness. You saw what happened in 16-17 when everybody came together, and I'm not for 1 minute suggesting it's a similar vibe to that at all, but you can see little green shoots, that you could marry up to stuff like that. And last season we'd have probably drawn that game yesterday. I think we'd have probably sat back, and when Hull got on top, I think they would have nicked one, and we'd have drawn or maybe even lost it. But yesterday we stuck together. There were just tremendous defence. Even Jack, he's only 7. He turned to me at one point and said, "These defenders are heroes, Dad. They're getting stuck in, they're throwing themselves in front of stuff." And the what? And you got that feel that it would do or die, And if somebody hadn't been doing that, somebody would have been telling them. And that togetherness. And that
you're so right. You're so right on that. That Nabisa, I know you knocked him there, Matt, but the thing I loved about him, he steamed straight back in, didn't he, for that tackle? It was incredible.
Yeah,
at the end of that. How good was that? You could feel, honestly, my iPad nearly blew up. The crowd were loving that. That's what we want to see. All right, a mistake. But he's getting back in there on that as well. And it was a brilliant tackle, wasn't it, to get the ball back. And that summed up the day for me yesterday. We've got everyone on the same page in that as well. And those guys that we mentioned on the bench, even Aaron's, who's, kind of not had many minutes in that as well, they're going to have to wait the turn, because these guys are earning the stripes, earning the shirts. And it's so good to see, man.
How dare you, Kosi? I love Naby Sarr. So there we go.
It wasn't a bad mistake, but let's be honest.
Do you know? It was one of those. It was one of those that I didn't really notice, and then it's like, oh, how's that happened? And it's like, oh, Naby,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because
he's right. The recovery was complete. Naby, it was brilliant. It was a brilliant recovery from him, wasn't it? It's Naby Sarr all over that. You make the mistake, but he's a great character as well as Naby, and he made up for it 100%. I like Naby.
Matt, I'm good with Lewis O'Brien yesterday. He's just sensational, mate. I think
he's the Duracell bunny, isn't he? He is
sensational. All they could do was foul him there, and there were dirty fouls and all. And it's like, but they know he's a key player, but he just seems to rise above it. I love the guy, and it's honestly, if he keeps going like this January, Phil Hodgkins is going to be like, hello, Southampton, hello, Leeds United.
There's a point in the first half where I'm lucky to sit in an area in the Riverside Upper where I like everybody around us. Though everybody's really decent, where I sit. But there was a point in the first half where someone behind me went, "I really like Lewis O'Brien, but he's not worth 10 million." And then under my breath, I'm like, because he's class. Lewis O'Brien is class. He's a quality footballer, and he's got so much about him. And do you know what? I still think there's a lot of growth potential in Lewis O'Brien as well at 23. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and I'm so happy that Town have nailed him down to a contract. And I only see, if he stays with us, because he's right, people will knock. But Lewis O'Brien has a really good opportunity to be the captain of this football club for quite a few years coming. I see him as the long-term successor to the captaincy, and I would love to see Lewis here long-term.
Matt, the one thing that I noticed, and that's all, it might just be, just observation, but the first couple of seasons, it were all energy, and don't get me wrong, that's a lot of his game, energy, all action stuff. But I always think the best players, you remember like Zidane and what have you, they don't wait Ronaldo, they don't waste energy. And I'm looking at O'Brien now, I don't see him wasting energy, mate. When he gets the ball, he'll give it to someone else. When he intercepts someone, he'll just go in. He won't just kind of run like 80, 90 yards like the ball and chase him off scores. He's got very smart on that as well. There's no doubt in my mind that these scouts that are sniffing around,
It's
they can see that
Premier
as
League
well.
football. Premier League football.
He's brilliant, mate. He's absolutely brilliant. He's huge for Huddersfield Town and that as well. I hope Phil gets a new phone and don't give anyone his number in January because, mate, hopefully he carries on playing like that and Huddersfield Town will rise up. But he's so big for what we're about and that as well. I thought
Carlos loves him, doesn't he?
I said Tom Lee's man of match, but you know what? Having a rethink on that as well today. Tom Lee O'Brien,
they were both very good. Both very good, weren't they? And I'd throw in Colwell and Hogg as able backup. We had some really good performances and there was something I'm going to shithouse you here, Kosi. In WhatsApp you mentioned we were carrying players, but I genuinely don't think we do at this football club. I think everybody contributes. One thing that people do, everybody in the team. You look at the team, and there's no, not to, kick people when they've gone, etc. But there's no Isaac and Benza, for example, stood on the right wing waiting for something to happen, or Adama Diakabi. Everybody's working hard in that unit. It's a unit, and it goes back to what Oli said about the togetherness as well. Everybody's working and pushing in the same direction. And I sit there, I'm really happy sat watching Huddersfield Town. If we finish 13th, like Kosi mentioned earlier, then that's okay. If we finish 6th, brilliant. But I'm just enjoying watching Huddersfield Town again. And, and it's been a long time since I could say that. And, fair play to everyone at the club. I'm sat here happy with everyone at the club today, giving big thumbs up and everything. It's just good to see. And one person we weren't quite happy with yesterday, but we won, so it's not really a major topic, is Mr. Robert Jones, the referee. How shit was he? Absolutely bizarre. But he pretty much
strange.
He gave every. I'm not saying he was bad against Huddersfield because he gave everything wrong yesterday. Hull, Grant McCann sulking that there was a foul on their midfielder, in our first goal, and there was. It was right in front of me. It was a foul. But what Grant McCann didn't say is that they actually turned over possession and got the ball back from us and could have kicked the ball out of play for him to receive treatment, but they didn't. And they lost the ball again, and we went down and got the corner. But he was, I don't want to delay on it too much because it's more comical, but do you know, this guy, Robert Jones, we've won 100% of the games he's refereed us, which is really strange, but it was so bad. But, if we win every game he referees, I want to see him more often.
I can't believe he booked Colwell after that. Must have been within a minute. And I thought, here we go. And then after that, it was a bit of a.
Why didn't he book that other guy? Why didn't he book that other guy straight after? He was no worse than.
That's what I'm saying. I thought he was going to. There's going to be yellow cards everywhere, and he sort of like, I'll give a booking early to make my,
But he lost control.
My authority kind of thing.
Well, then he lost control.
After that, it was really weird that.
But he lost control.
If we're winning when he's there, then get in there.
Because Hull were very physical. Hull were. Quite a decent footballing side at the first, but when they realised they could get away with a load of stuff, and a load of heavy stuff, they went really heavy, didn't they? I thought Harry Toffolo was gonna slot Malik Wilkes at one point. He wasn't a happy bunny, was he? But and we're speaking of contracts, Harry, sign yours. We keep saying that every week. Get on it, mate. And it was just such a bizarre refereeing performance. And do you know what? It almost adds to the fun of the fair, doesn't it, Poz? This is why you kind of go watch football. VAR sterilizes that whole enjoyment of football thing, doesn't it? I watched a little bit of Newcastle and Spurs today, and the linesman puts the flag up when Harry Kane scores, and all the Newcastle fans are ironic cheering. Goes to VAR 30 seconds later. Oh no, actually we're onside. It's given a goal, and it just kind of. I know everybody wants the correct decisions to be given, but it just kind of ruins and sanitizes that whole shithousey pantomime experience that we all love.
I think you don't mind as much when, like you say, it's consistently bad for both teams. If you get one that.
Yeah.
In your own eyes, perceived as giving everything to opposition, then that's when it can get a bit feisty. But it would, like you say, it was just a bit bad both ways, really. But like you say, we win when he's there, so see you on Tuesday.
Exactly, Wednesday. All right then. So let's move on to the football forum. So let's put Hull City to bed and move on to the football forum. So thank you to everybody. After the game, I've tweeted out. I was trying to tweet, doing my best walking down Leeds Road. I had to buy the young one an ice cream to keep him quiet for 2 minutes so I could send this tweet. So thank you to everybody who's replied. And I'll run through what people are saying. So this again went out at 5:26, just after the final whistle. So Jerry Hinnon says more than a quarter. So guys, if you hear something you like here, feel free to jump in. Jerry Hinnon says more than a quarter of the season completed. Town are in 6th, and it's no fluke. Only 4 teams in the division have a better goal difference. I'm going to start dreaming. I don't see any reason not to. And I love that. Absolutely love that. This is what football's all about, isn't it? Having that dream. The Huddersfield Town family, friendly, decent Facebook group. Join it if you've seen it. Says it wasn't a sparkling performance, but we did what we needed to do: score early, manage the game, and extend the lead, and protect the clean sheet. Hull had a couple of decent late chances, but thought Town were very professional. Also thought Danny Ward put in a good shift today, and we didn't mention Danny Ward. And I thought Danny Ward did actually do quite well up front, so fair play to Wardy. James, who's been on...
The thing is, Matt, Danny Ward's got to put in shift, mate, because, like, look who's waiting behind, to come in on that as well. You've got Roma, you've got Campbell, Rhodes, hopefully sometime soon. So that's beautiful as well. Steve Chicken mentioned it in his 5 things, didn't he, today, but he's right. There's competition now, and the guys, if they're not putting a shift in or they're not doing the business, they'll be out. And, God, last few seasons, it's never been like that. People guaranteed a shirt, however bad they are. Like Naby Sadi would always... that first name on the sheet would always be an outstarting like a 1 name down. No, so I don't know how bad the injury is. Pearson doesn't sound too good, to be fair, but it's like, but he's a good one to come in. He's so promising, and like you say, we've got to be applauding for the recruitment team because they've got the hungry players on the bench and that as well to come on. It made a difference, Matt, and I just think that Huddersfield Town this season is so much a different animal to lads.
James Whittaker says, convincing win, didn't get out of first gear, but didn't need to. Managed the game extremely well, but a poor Hull side. Nearly fell asleep second half after Worthington walk, so well done, James, for that. Adam West, new Batman film's out soon, isn't it? So this is quite apt that Adam West is sending us a tweet. He says, this is what happens when a club gives a new manager time in the job to implement his ideas. Not great last season, but Carlos has learned, and the squad he's built over the summer is such an improvement. Speaks very well of Town, a properly run club. I like that. That's a decent tweet, that, from Adam. We've got West York's FPL, I Love Sport, mate, says Hull, Blackburn and Preston. We didn't win those games in previous years. We would have folded under the pressure, not got the winner, or like yesterday, that crucial second goal. Was asked yesterday where we should strengthen in January. Has to be up front, another central midfield option. Neil Berry, we'll probably do a transfer special pause, won't we? Sort of closer to the window. Neil Berry says, all-round decent performance. One observation, Levi Colwill, 18 years old, making his first foray into professional football. Putting in performances like these is awesome. The lad has a very bright future. Looks like he's been around for years. 100%. I was saying to my mate Tom, who we're sitting next to, do you know how, Pozza, you used to play centre-back, but Levi Colwill protects the ball so well with his shoulder. He levers people off the ball, when he's in possession. He'll just use his shoulder just to gently move people away and then create space. He's such a fantastically gifted footballer for 18, isn't he?
I would say for 18, he almost looks like he's had 10 years experience at this level already. Like you say, the way that he sort of reads the game, the way that he just unbalances and unsettles opposition players. And when he's got the ball at his feet, again, yesterday we're cropping up sort of left wing and putting crosses in, and for a centre half, that's amazing, really, especially at Town.
Mate,
I think what kind of centre back you're getting now when you sign someone permanently or on loan from Chelsea. I look at someone who's broken in the team back into the England team and is now at Milan, Fikayo Tomori. I mean, what a revelation he's been since he came over. And he plays in a very similar way, confident on the ball, not shy to make a tackle, has the athleticism and the recovery pace to get out of any potential mistakes that they make. And, it's scary that he's 18. Like, I remember when we had Ben Chilwell on loan and people around were sort of saying, he's going to be something special one day. He'll probably go on and play for England. And obviously he has. You hear the same things about Colwill. He's an England youth international and for good reason. You just get the feeling that he's going to move up and up the ranks. And it does feel a bit like at the moment we've got to enjoy him for the one season that we have him, because I think he's destined for bigger things next season unless we magically go up or something. But I think, again, top marks to the recruitment team for spotting somebody who was primed and ready and showing faith in them. When he was thrust into that starting 11 for the first time, I think there were a few eyebrows raised thinking, is this a bit of a step too far for somebody who hadn't played senior minutes? But he's taken to the Championship like a duck to water, and it's not an easy division to do that necessarily. But yeah, full credit to him, full credit to Carlos for putting him in the right situations, full credit to the recruitment team for getting in a player who is somewhat special.
Hursty says, really enjoyed it. Strange to see us score so early and have to manage the game, but we did okay. Holmes, O'Brien, Lees, all excellent. Can't wait for Birmingham. Graham Mears says, good team performance. Lacked the final ball multiple times, but always looked in control of the game. Sinani looking like the creative player we need, but still integrating. Tom Lee's absolutely brilliant along with O'Brien. Clark Eastwood says, for me, the biggest result so far, winning relatively comfortably against a limited side, but never needing to get out of second gear, shows how far we have developed from last season. Holmes and Lee's excellent. Hogg showing way is still a massive player for us, and Lewis O'Brien outstanding. Terrier Pete says, fantastic to look forward to a Saturday again, knowing that this team is one unit and playing for each other, and see how it works when you all have one goal. That echoes what you say there, Ollie, as well. Rowan Edwards says, Lee's mint again. O'Brien everywhere again. Ward looks sharp. Good overall team performance. Clappy hands. Dag Barnett says, worth walking 23 miles for solid defence and good team performance overall. Dean Smith, where are the potless Phil numpties? It all seems to have gone very quiet. The club seems to be in a great place at the moment. Strong squad that was assembled without breaking budget. Bravo, Phil. You're doing a good job. Kosi was going to come in there, but he's gone back out again.
No, I was just going to say, definitely, because it's incredible, isn't it? The guys we got in the summer, like, no one would have, it didn't exactly get the juices flowing, did it? A 34-year-old centre half from a relegated team.
Right, we got this last week, Kosi. Tom Lees is 30. If we say Tom Lees is 34 again, we're going to get pelters. We get pelters again.
He's in 30.
He's 30.
Oh, mate, what a great signing. Obviously, at 30, it's a perfect age for centre back. But no, the thing is with Tom Lees, it looks like he's really enjoying his time at Huddersfield Town. I don't know if it's weight of expectation. He's obviously been at Leeds on Wednesday, where like the pressure. I'm not saying it's not on at Town, but like you've got to do stuff there. It's like he's come in and it's just been so real. I mean, that picture yesterday that shows you like. Not doing a Ronaldo, but it's like jumping in like mid-air, isn't it, towards the lower end of the kill the back and that. So brilliant, mate. And the guy, yeah, love it. And honestly, you can. I think the things with centre backs, though, you can. When you think kind of Ken Moncala in that season under Steve Bruce and that as well, if you can get a guy at that age, they're a bit clever out there, you know,
streetwise,
Matt,
yeah.
because yeah, they can just like they know when to kind of mark the guy. Yeah, the speedier strikers about, and that's what they know what to do in that as well. And I honestly, it's been so good, and that's why I think me and probably a lot of other people got all their hands up and say, yeah, they've got that absolutely spot on. Obviously, everyone were like, oh, it's Bromby's mate, that's why it's in, and that's where the big bats were coming in. But I think
mate,
we've all got.
He is Bromby's mate, but that's maybe why we got him. So you've got to look at the other side as well. So well done to Lee on that one.
I need to say as well at this point, I was saying that the Lee signing was probably like one of those where you know what you're going to get. But I didn't like it. I thought it was uninspiring because it meant that in turn Rahmani Edmonds-Green was loaned out to Rotherham, and I thought we should be keeping one of our own sort of products around to grow and develop. And I didn't like the move as a like for like, but it's worked out absolutely perfectly because Lee's has barely put a foot wrong for us. Where now Armani is going and getting crucial minutes in a side that's pushing for promotion from the division below. And when he comes back, he's going to be a better player and we'll just have a wealth of options. And it's all worked out perfectly, hasn't it?
All gone swimmingly. No Rahmani, no.
just coming in on that, Ollie, I think that's a really good point you make there. And I think I'm sorry, Matt, we've kind of taken a little football form off tangent here, but I'll try to be quick because I know you don't like it when I waffle on. Just taking that point on board, though, a lot of the criticism that I think the club got and what Carlos and what were directed towards Phil was that when Carlos did come in, he did talk about these young players coming through and breaking into the first team and stuff like that. And obviously, we've kind of gone, I won't say away from that, but we've kind of veered away and brought in more experience and stuff this season. And now you sort of stand back and analyse and see what has gone on. Potentially that sort of ethos can still come through, and maybe the club tried to push it through 12, 18 months before those sort of players were ready. And I think what we've done this year is bring in the older heads and maybe stabilise it and let players like Edmonds-Green go out on loan to a lesser standard to get them ready for football, because you know what championships like, it is very cutthroat, and you've got to be on your game at all times. Anybody could beat anybody. There's no easy games, and I think the club probably wanted to go down that vision of youth team players coming through, and I'm all for that obviously. And I think we got a little bit sidetracked by that want of playing that particular style of football, or bringing these players through. And I think they've really managed that situation really well. By bringing these older reds, like you say, it's allowed players to go out on loan to get that experience that they need at a more manageable level for them. And in the long run, that can only be a good thing. And if this season has been a bit of a stopgap from that ethos and that desire to play that way, if in another 12, 18 months it makes us better and more prepared to do so, then again, you've got to take it off and say, well done for having balls to, veer away from that for a couple of seasons for the long-term aim.
It allows them to come through a bit more naturally, though, rather than force them through as well, doesn't it, Poz? So Romani's doing excellently at Rotherham, so long may that continue as well. We'll just round up on some of these now and we'll move on. So Gamey James says, really enjoyed that. Plenty of shithousing and shenanigans. 2 brilliant goals. The corner for the first cause absolute chaos in the Hull defence. At what point do we adjust our hopes and expectations to the season? 6 after 12 games? Dare we dream?
Oh, Matt, we're going to talk about that in a bit, aren't we? Because I actually put that on the agenda.
We do. Johnny Foster says, cracking game spoiled somewhat by the referee who must have dipped into Lee Clark's tombola to get some of his decisions. Solid all round, although would have been good to have tested their keeper a bit more. The spine is looking more solid, at least. Roll on Wednesday. Andy Moore says, great, gritty performance, perforated with some moments of pure daftness, but against a team that had no real plan, decent results. Thank heavens for the Holmes Exocet missile. Stephen Murray says, we'll have some of that. And Don Campbell says, we battled, plain and simple. 2 seasons ago, we either got a point or lost up the Town. And finally, Mark the White of Acrefield, sounds like he's gone online, doesn't he, and bought a plot of land, says, professional, Lewis O'Brien, clap, 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 clap. And that is the end of the football forum. So thank you to everybody for getting in touch. That's always great to see.
Dom's right, isn't it? Because, like, when Hull had that pit moment, like Pod saying, I never really felt threatened, but I thought if this carries on over 10 minutes, I think they are going to score. But it remains in, wasn't it? Like, I just thought we're not kind of making any chances to get out when we scored. And that, I think that's the thing now. We're just like, we'd have gone under then. And I think it would be one of those games where they'd have equalised, they'd probably gone on and win it. And like, boo, and everyone had booed them off and what have you. And all the way ended have gone nuts. But that's not Huddersfield Town this season. And it were really pleased to see we've got some balls, a bit of backbone in that as well. And we're kind of but to be honest, how easily did we see the last, when did Hull score it, 62 or something like that? It would have, last half an hour, easy, wasn't it? We saw it out so easy. That just shows how far we've come.
Right, so there's a couple of points on the agenda before we'll move on to Kosi's Corner. The first thing is Sorba, the old Mango Sorba for Wales. This was great, wasn't it, to see? So Sorba's played a couple of games for Wales. He got his first start. He played left wing back, which seemed a bit unusual at first because we thought it was an out and out left back, but it turned out to be a wing back. He showed up quite well, Poz. I watched most of the game because it's been a while since we've had Welsh interest, and I'll be honest, I'll probably only watch Wales if we've got a Town representative playing. Remember when Steve Jenkins and Ewan Roberts used to pull on the red shirt with distinction? Good players to remember from the past. But Sorba Thomas, everything really about Sorba Thomas. There's this fairy tale which has followed him around. This sort of meteoric rise, and it's just so fun to watch, isn't it? And watching him sort of afterwards hold up his shirt, and sort of have this sort of goofy grin, saying, "Oh, I've got Aaron Ramsey to sign," like a proper fanboy, sort of saying, "I've got Aaron Ramsey to sign this," so excited to be there. And you see lots of entitlement in football, don't you? Lots of footballers who, live in this sort of bubble, don't they? And they're sort of very sort of entitled, very arrogant, very sort of standoffish. And then you see someone who's so happy just to be a professional footballer, enjoying himself so much, living the dream that, we all wish we'd have had, and it's just wonderful and heartwarming to see, this rise continue. And do you know what? He played quite well. And, Wales came away and they look like they're in with a shout at the World Cup. And, Kosi, you mentioned, we had Aaron Moy and Zanka or what have you in the last World Cup, and, the next one, we could have Sorba Thomas. So, it's really fantastic to see. And the story just keeps rolling on, doesn't it, guys? Whoever wants to say anything.
I really like him.
I think what I like, I know kind of, name dropping. I know a couple of people who are like Welsh journalists down there and that as well. And the influence that he's had on them, they've really been like blown away by him. It's almost like that school kid who's like being picked for the team, and it's like living his dream and that as well. And it's so refreshing. I mean, obviously the first game he came off the bench and then kind of got his shirt, for the second game and that as well. And it's really refreshing. But you know what? You can't beat someone who's, I know people say you need a bit of arrogance, don't you, to be a good footballer and what have you and that as well. And you can throw names at it and that as well. What I like about Sorba Thomas, he's just kind of seems to be a really nice chap. Also, you mentioned it before, like kind of after the game, the photos and stuff like waiting behind, stuff like that as well. And it's really, really good. I love what Boreham Wood, like they've kind of been living the dream, living that as well. It's almost like we've got a new set of Huddersfield Town fans down there and that as well. And it's great. And the thing that I like about it as well, like for the development of us, he's had that sniff. He's had that, training camp week. He's had 2 games, started one, sub of the other. That's going to give him motivation. So he did a good job again yesterday, and that as well. That's going to keep him going. So they've got a massive, games in the next international break in middle of November and that as well. So, I mean, he's not a guy that's going to switch up anyway. Not like, maybe a Benz and Diakabis and what have you. This is a guy who's on point. So it was just so refreshing. And I work, honestly, how many different kind of media stations like Sorba Thomas, we love Sorba Thomas, I can't get enough of this guy, etc., etc. Honestly, my timeline was just full of Sorba Thomas, and it wasn't much to do with Town. It were all to do with like Welsh media. So it's not just us, mate, that feels it. It's everyone else in that as well. It's infectious, and what a story it is really when you think about it. You're going to have to get in a game for us, and now it's like, if Bale's not fit again for the next 2 games and that as well, he's going to be a key player for them, mate. So it's brilliant.
Weren't there like Estonian fans gathered outside the stadium singing his name? I mean, if that ain't a perfect embodiment of how... But I've said it before, I said it last time. It's funny, Premier League era, we spent 12 million on a winger, 15 million on a winger, and all it took was a lad for a few $100,000 from Boreham Wood, to come and do the job. And the same with Karoma to an extent as well. It's just fantastic, and it's like something you could write a book about. But this is it. You don't get the impression that the story's ending now either, or that there's any kind of plateau in sight. I just think he's on a rise. He's going to ride the crest of the wave. His confidence is up, and unfortunately, you start to think, don't you, about big bids coming in from teams at top of the assist chart. Statistically, and also you see it with your own eyes that there is something about how he's come in and given the attack a new sort of fresh breath of life, and long may it continue.
100%. Yes, so on Saturday, there was, I think it was 145 people walked from Leeds United to Halifax Town to Huddersfield Town to the game. The Worthington Walk in aid of the Yorkshire Air Ambulance and the Alzheimer's Society. So I just wanted to say a big well done to all those that did it, including James Whittaker, Michael Heffeler, they all rolled out and did it. It was fantastic. Raised £30,000, and Frank Worthington, just mute Kosi just for a second, and I'll bring you in, buddy. I think Frank Worthington is someone who should always be remembered by the fans of this football club. He's a very important figure, and to do something, in his memory was very fitting. And I just want to say a big well done to all. It's fantastic to see, and long may this and things like this are what makes this football club special to me. And makes me want to go back and keep watching and keep being involved with Huddersfield Town. So well done, everybody, and hopefully we'll see more. And Kosi, I'll bring you back in, buddy. He's still muted. There he is.
Yeah, honestly, Matt, totally agree. That's what I love about Huddersfield Town. There were a guy kind of just obviously the other games on in this bar I would have, but I had the iPad on with Town, and it showed like the guys, coming in the stadium and that. So like, what's all this about? And like, I would explain to him what they were doing. Like that is amazing. He was like a Man United fan. Well, whether he goes to games is another question. But it's like, mate, that we used to do that a lot, and that as well. I don't know if we're doing it as much, since kind of Dean left, but it makes me so proud and stuff like that, Matt, because that is what a community kind of football club, which we are, should be all about, and that as well. And I know kind of like everyone probably does one or two of the individuals, and let's be honest, like kind of fitness and athleticism and that as well, probably not their kind of DNA and stuff. And Phil Hodgkinson obviously did it and that as well. And you saw some of the posts on Instagram. My alarm's set at 4 a.m. And when you kind of analyse it, you think that's a bloody amazing thing that they're doing and that as well. And it's so good. I think that's where Huddersfield Town, when we've seen it so many times, like the pedal for pounds, stuff like that as well, when Sean Jarvis left and that as well. And again, that was just another reminder to me that we're kind of getting this club back again, and we're just really good. It must have been, what were it like at the ground when they all came round and that as well? I thought it was a really nice moment. The commentators, obviously, Johnny and that, they were kind of mentioned, the old fans kind of got into it and that as well. So it must just have been a nice thing, because it's just so good what people giving up their time for such a great charity and that's what Huddersfield Town's about for me. Not, about 10, 12 million pounds players and stuff. That is Huddersfield Town, community club. People give a shit on and off the pitch.
Now, like you say, it was nice when they were walking around, and fans were showing that appreciation, and hats off to Hull. Their fans, joined in and give them the applause that they all deserve. 22 miles they walked. It's no mean feat, is it? It's up at 4 in the morning. It's a big commitment to do, and logistically, the club, fantastic organisation behind the scenes, and again, it just brings that togetherness. Doesn't it? You've got fans interacting with your chairman, with Matt Heverley turns up, and all of a sudden, it just paints the club in such a good light, and helping out, charities and stuff. As you say, because that to me is one of the the biggest things that Town have done well over the past certainly 10 years. And long may it continue. I think we should get involved next time, boys, and do a live pod en route or something like that.
I know it was around the corner from where I live as well. I felt really bad, but I had to take Charlie to diddy kicks and stuff while Rachel recovers. Rachel's got knee surgery, so I'm going to blame her. So she's had knee surgery, so it's her fault. But yeah, I think next time.
Good job I muted, Matt. There. Good job I muted Spanish swear words there, mate, on my mute button. All right.
There's something else I just wanted to mention as well. Saturday's game was the HTSA have labelled that the Pledge Bowl game as well. I'm not going to delay on this too much because I know people like us to talk about the football more so than most things. But the HTSA have got behind Pledge Bowl alongside their work on making the stadium sustainable as well. And if this is something that interests you as a fan, I know it doesn't interest everybody, but it does me. If it interests you, I'll point you into the direction of the HTSA and some of their tweets that they've sent out as well. So all good stuff, and well done to the HTSA for getting behind that as well. Kosi, you before you went away and flew and celebrated your return to Spain, you went to watch the B team. The B team have been handing out some absolute batterings. 5-0, 6-0.
Matt and Pozza, I've had a drink today, don't get me wrong.
Have you?
But that Friday, I had no drink. I was at the stadium thinking, Huddersfield Town are 5-0 up, 6-0 up in this. Incredible. And that as well. And again, Matt, it's just another example where, it's an easy thing to throw in at Watford, isn't it? Because, I watched their game for kind of one eye yesterday, and that's when this is a team it's kind of a split camp, really, isn't it? You've got pretty much your first team players, and that's when there's no one really that's going to get a gig under Ranieri. Forget it, them guys. So I would kind of chat to a few people thinking, them Watford guys, because every time they're walking back to centre circle, their heads were down, and they were. I was just thinking, what kind? Yeah, they're going to have to obviously try and get picked up by other teams, but really, there's no real pathway there. In my opinion, for them to get in a first team where with us, it's just you're just thinking Manu were incredible. In that game against Watford, he was just wow, this guy could be something and that as well. And yeah, he might have to do, go to Rotherham on loan or what have you and that as well. That some of our other players are Warsaw, but it were really refreshing again, Matt. Just another little reminder when you go out there that I'm not saying Huddersfield Town effing rising again as you sing all, but it is but no, it's again another example where there's good stuff coming under the we've just been, we've been bad as anyone, but last 2-3 seasons doom and gloom, and there's been no good stories coming through. This were incredible, and whether Watford had the best team out and what have you and that as well. I drove away that night thinking, bloody hell, it's this could be exciting, and that's what it just all adds to this feel good factor that we've got at the moment, and long may it continue.
They battered Preston 5-0 a few days later as well, so 11 goals in 2 games. I'm going to say who's standing out. Kean Harrett's got, I think he's got 7 in 8 at the minute. Kean Harrett, he's absolutely flying with the goals. I know the quality of the B team to the first team in the Championship, there's quite a leap there, and that's why the loans are really good for. I've seen a couple of people posting in the the HTSC Academy comment section just saying, I thought the whole point was that we didn't have to send players out on loan for the B team, but I think in terms of the quality of the B team games, there's a big bridge to gap between the B team and the Championship, and I think the loans are a perfect place to do it. And I think the club are very right to do what they do, and I think it's working very well. But players that are doing well: Kean Harrett, 7 goals in 8. John Russell looks like an absolute machine. He's appeared on the bench a couple of times, and Kosi's nodding his head really excitedly there. John Russell impressed you?
Did that really, really good in that as well. And I think the guys just enjoyed the night under the spotlight. Obviously, again, normally that kind of stuff's shoveled away on a 2:00 Thursday afternoon. No fans allowed at Canal Side. This was a proper occasion and that as well, and it was really refreshing. You mentioned Kean Harrett there. He had a fan club. must have been like close friends and family, like 50 to 60 guys and the girls, and they were absolutely singing their heads off and that as well. It was so surreal and that as well, and he responded and that as well. So yeah, really, really good sign to that as well, John Worthington and his boys. And yeah, if there's another game like that on a Friday and that as well, I think there'll be a few more down on that as well. But why? Honestly, we've been in the doldrums for quite a bit now, and that so it's about time we put this chest out and say, Huddersfield Town, there's stuff to shout about now and stuff to be positive about.
I like this positive Kosi. He's had a beer and he's all positive. I love
what's going on here.
I know. I think. Do you imagine if he got into that
beer home, yeah.
Could you imagine if he got into that ketchup sachet? How happy he'd be. He'd be absolutely over the moon. Right, guys. I've got two things left. I've got Kosi's corner or the little quiz that I've prepared, which is just 3 questions each. Which one do you want to do first? I'm going to throw this to you guys. What do you want to do first?
Let's go. Let's keep the positivity flowing with old Kosi.
Osi's shitting it for this quiz.
I think we should do the quiz first.
I'm just biding time for research purposes.
I think we should. We're going to do the quiz first. Right. Okay. So there's 3 questions each. This is called the goal. Right. So what I need to do is I need to see everybody's hands. Pozza, you're fine. You're away from your laptop. All right. So no cheating on this one. So Goalfest Hullabaloo quiz. This is what I've called it. Right, so you're all going to get 3 questions about Huddersfield Town versus Hull City and scorelines from the past. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you 3 questions each. I'll go. Pause. You can go first. Oli second.
Get that Yorkshire Electricity Cup, Matt. You know that Yorkshire Electricity Cup final is going to be on. Don't send it to me, mate. I was there. I can't remember a thing, mate. Especially after about 8 beers. But anyway.
Sadly, that's not going to be appearing, but we've got right. So the first one is recent times. So number 1. So Pozza, this is to you. In fact, let's see if we've got any of these things lined up here. What have we got?
Jesus.
Nope.
We've lost.
Nope.
Thank you, Feliz Navidad.
Nah, we won't have any sound effects for this. Right. So question number 1. The last time we played Hull City at home, we won 3-0. With goals from Carlin Grant, Juninho Bacuna, and who, Mr. Porritt?
I know it.
Calm your skin. Right.
You've asked me that. I knew them 2 goal scorers, but that third one were elusive. So it's going to be someone probably a bit random. But no idea. God knows.
Kosi's getting way too excited there. We're not passing these questions over. Yeah, no.
Pozza gets battered everywhere he goes. Pozza gets battered everywhere.
I think Kosi's battered, but
I think he's had too many Estrellas.
Go on, then. You got 5 seconds. 5, 4.
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
3, 2. The answer is wrong. The answer was Elias Kachunga. So, question number 2. Did you know that, Kosi?
Ain't nobody.
Oh, I'm totally lying. I'm going to say Fraser Campbell. I'm glad you didn't mug me off.
That's who I just said as well.
Oh, I should have thrown that over.
Shit. At least you made me look a dickhead, even if you didn't mean it. Anyway, carry on, Matt.
Right,
Don't mention that the Yorkshire Electricity Cup game. I was there, mate. We only had 3 sides. 3 sides. We've only...
Right, number 2. Oli, when we beat Hull 2-1 on the 28th of January 2020, who scored a 96-minute winner?
Steve Mounier.
Thank you, Feliz Navidad.
Correct. That's 1 for the fish.
I feel that's quite a layup.
Oh, yes, Al. Great call. Were you there, Al? Were you there that night?
I wasn't there. I didn't go. I had to work, unfortunately. But I had it on Sky, and it came up, and my dad shouted me down, and that's how I remember it. Because
Steve playing the guitar, wasn't he?
Yeah, excellent.
Right, Kosi, this is you. So we've had to go a little bit further back because Hull have been out of our crosshairs for a little while. But this is 2006.
Rob Dewhurst. Oh, no, sorry, mate. What's the question?
In April 2016, Town and Hull drew 2-2. Jamie Patterson opened the scoring before Abel Hernandez and Adama Diomande put Hull in command. Harry Bunn then forced which current international footballer to put through his own... Do you know what? I'm going to mute you because it's not coming through. Right. I'm just going to mute Kosi so we can repeat that. So in April 2016, Town and Hull drew 2-2. Jamie Patterson opened the scoring before Abel Hernandez and Adama Diomande put Hull in command. Harry Bunn then forced which current international footballer to put through his own net?
Is it Harry Maguire?
Harry Maguire. That's correct.
Thank you, Feliz Navidad.
We're 1-1. So round 2, we're going back to the noughties. Right. So first is going to be the fish. So 15th of November 2003, Town beat Hull City 3-1 with our very own Phil Senior playing a part. John Stead opened the scoring for Town before Danny Schofield.
This was a right game, by the way. This was a proper game.
It was decent. Before Danny Schofield rounded it off. But who scored Town's second goal on the day back in 2003?
Stead first, Schofield third. See, I was 7 years old, so this is a tough one.
I remember everything from when I was 7, but go on.
I'll take a punt on Makaliski.
Oh, afraid not.
Matt, I've got someone said if I guess 2. In my head first I had John Withington, but then Pavel Abbott just appeared.
Nope.
So I'm going to go Pavel Abbott.
Pause.
Oh, Boothie. Oh,
sorry. I like to
Sorry,
booth it. There you go. It was Boothie.
Okay.
There we go. Right. So, Kosi, you're next. 8th of January 2002. Town went to Boothbury Park and won 1-0 in the LDV Vans Northern Area semi-final. Who scored?
What a match.
Bloody hell, man. They had them stinking shirts on. You meant they had that bonus on. They were like,
the tiger
horrible
thing.
shirts. Yeah. Shit. Oh, God. It's 2002.
2002.
So I'm trying to think who's manager then. We'll get that.
Lou Macari.
I don't think it was Leon Knight, so I ain't going to throw that out. John Bonneton.
I like to booth it. Andy Booth again. So there you go. Right, pause. You're looking very serious there. Now it's chance to even the score to make it 1-1-1. 5th of September 2004, and back in our noughties forever home of League One, Town beat Hull 4-0. Rob Edwards, Chris Brandon, and Andy Booth scored. Andy Booth loves a goal against Hull, doesn't he? But who opened the scoring for Town? Who opened the scoring for Town that day?
Back in when? 2004.
2004.
That was
What was the song? Papa's got a brand new pig bag.
Pav?
Pozza's equalised. Pavel Abbott was the scorer. Yeah, well done, Pozza. So you're back level. Right, we're all level going into the last round, so this could end up a draw. So round 3, the 90s. So Kosi's got a slight advantage here, doesn't he, Oli? So we'll go with Kosi first. On the 18th of April, 1993, who scored a thunder bastard at Boothbury Park? Kosi, you're going to have to mute. Just mute you a moment there. Right. 18th of April, 1993, who scored a thunder bastard at Boothbury Park in a 2-1 defeat? Mr. Kosmala.
I don't think she's right, but I'm going to go Lee Duxbury, mate.
That's too early for Lee Duxbury. I'm going to turn this in the last round. I'm going to start turning this over if someone's wrong because we need a winner. Anybody want to take a guess? Guessing's free. 1993. Couple of big players.
93. Yeah. All got promoted, that, innit? Season before. Jacko, randomly? No.
No. Ollie.
Chris Billy.
No, if I said coffee, would anybody get it?
Oh, you line chopped there, Matt, with your shit Wi-Fi.
if I said coffee, would anybody get it?
John Coffey from Green Mile.
Oh, you're all bloody useless. Phil Starbuck. Right, so who's next?
Did you see that about Phil Starbuck? He's going to be a pastor or something, isn't he?
Yeah, mate.
He's been inducted. Unbelievable. Anyway, what a career change.
I'm currently trying to make a video about Phil Starbuck for Andy Takes That Chance, so that's something to keep your eyes out for. So I should have that in the next 12 months. You know how I work. So question 2, pause. This is for you. 8th of January. No, that's wrong. 24th of April, 1993. Phil Starbuck and Simon Charlton scored in a 3-0 win at Leeds Road. Who opened the scoring from the penalty spot? Just try and think about who Town's penalty taker was in 1993. I used to moan a lot on Radio Leeds as well.
Oh, really?
I know. Na, 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 na.
Penalties. I can't remember who set penalties at all back then.
All the fans used to clap.
First half, Pod. First half.
That's terrible. That's not Jimmy Tarbuck.
I don't know. I'm seeing this because he's done that impression. I was going to say something like Chris Marsden, but after that impression from Kosi, then no.
It's a good chance. Good job you swerve that. But go on, 10 seconds.
Can I?
Big Brighton fan.
I've got it from his impression, I think.
Oh, I'm going to turn this over to Ollie then.
No, I can't take the point.
No,
Kieran O'Regan.
Oh, Ollie's got it.
No, I mean, no, I got it half a point each because I got it from the impression. That was genius.
Because he meant Frank Stapleton, but there we go.
Yeah, Matt was slagging my impression and with a key to Victor there.
It's a cracker. Right, so
Huddersfield Town is so bad, like.
Last one, Easter 1995.
Jermaine Easter. I remember him scoring against Town at Plymouth.
I tell you what, I'll turn this over to Kosi if Ollie doesn't get this right, and Kosi might get excited here. Easter 1995, Town went 1-0 up, but were pegged back by a former Town loanee. Name that loanee. So this is Easter 1995. Settle down, Kosi. You got to give him a chance. Easter 1995. Town drew 1-1 with Hull. Town went 1-0 up before being pegged back by a guy that had spent a portion of the previous season on loan with us. Who is it?
Man, I'm nowhere getting this. I'm not even going to have an embarrassing guess. Sorry, I've gone on this one. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean,
stick a fork in me. I'm done, lads.
I'd struggle with naming a Town player, but I wouldn't be able to name who scored for Hull against us.
Pass.
Yeah, pass.
Kosi, if you don't get this, I'm going to fly out to Spain.
Rob Dewhurst.
Yes, it's Rob Dewhurst. It was Rob Dewhurst. Oh dear, Rob Dewhurst. Yeah, he was cash. Right, we're going to move it over to Kosi's corner.
No one puts Kosi in a corner.
Kosi, you're out there over in Spain. You went to watch Malaga yesterday. You wore your Town shirt. And one question is, I've got one question.
We've all done this.
One question. Did anybody mistake you
for Aaron Mooy? Calm down.
Mistake me for Aaron Mooy? No, we ate chins. No, we didn't. But you know what? The one thing, like, everyone knows when they go on holiday, when it's a Saturday, you have your Town shirt on. And you risk it for a biscuit, don't you? You put it on all day and you keep it on. You don't go home. So I just thought, Malaga playing blue and white, Town. And obviously kind of fairly confident with Beetle and stuff. The one thing that I just were blown away by was the number of people that coming up to me like, up the Town. It was a bit annoying. Oh, God, I watch Channel 6. You might be watching this, but they were like, people coming up to me as I was watching, give up, what's your Town? You know, and they knew so much. They're like, I've got a season card here, this, that, and the other. It's like today, like, that's Huddersfield Town. And then the creme de la creme, I want to go to Malaga. Like, we'd have a drink, like, they were like Spanish Malaga fans coming up to me, like, Huddersfield Town. They're like, amazing. They're like, I've been to Huddersfield. And I think what I'm trying to say is, like,
we're massive.
I feel like Legion out fan here, but I think Huddersfield Town is, like, so well respected out of the area because you always think, like, I always think we're kind of a little small town and what have you, just like stuck in between a lot of kind of big kind of clubs. But when you come out here, people just know our badge. People know us, and it's just brilliant. It's like today, it's like walking around, like, this. I had one guy like that, and it's like, I don't think you realise that we are respected above the, across a lot of places and stuff like that as well. So I think my point I'm trying to make is when we're thinking, let's finish 14, 13 and stuff, and Huddersfield Town are like, in a lot of people's eyes, are like a big club. So we should be aiming high. We should be, wanting to finish like lower down and stuff like that as well. We should be wanting to finish up. And our proudest punch, like coming back last night, obviously I had a drink and Town had won, but there were people like Huddersfield Town, blue and white stripes. They were like, what's that shirt? And I'm like, that's Huddersfield Town. Oh, Huddersfield Town. But I know that Premier League 2 years has obviously caught a few, people in there and that as well, especially like kind of the foreign audience. But it made me really proud. And it's like, wearing this today, this kind of training top's like, Huddersfield, you had a right wing stick at mate, didn't you? Like, yeah, up the Town, like, I'm Stoke fan and this, that, and other. And I just think it's just a good thing in that as well, where, no offense, but like, if you had a Bradford City shirt on, no one would give a shit, would there? No one would care. Who are you? What's that? Is that like?
I think they'd be wondering if you've been sick down it. I think that'd be what they were thinking.
Exactly. But I think a bit of a rambling there. But what chance? I was just really shocked by it. People know the Town, neither Spanish, English, and it was a big deal. And I love that as well, Matt, because it's like we met, whether you like us or not, when in the Premier League we're doing that and all that. We made a difference, didn't we? And it's like now people are like, we're asking about us today, so it's brilliant. And you should always be proud to wear your colours. I think as well, that's another thing. Whether what division we're in now, well, we're doing. Huddersfield Town are big and stuff, and swings and roundabouts in it. Leeds were like bossing it. Town were like, I remember what was that song? Leeds are going up, the Town are going down. That when they beat us, all of a sudden it's different, and it's so just keep going, mate. That's what I'm saying.
Football is cyclical, isn't it? If you like. But mate, I keep telling you, Huddersfield Town are a bigger and better football club than a lot of people. I'm not saying they're massive or anything, but Huddersfield Town are a decent football club, and you know, I keep telling people, you know, everybody will run Huddersfield Town down if you give them chance, you know, and you know, stick your chest out, be proud. Huddersfield Town is a good football club that's achieved really good things in the game. You know, maybe some of it is 100 years ago, but still, you should never be scared of history, or never be scared, or never be worried about what this club achieved in the past. It's always just achieved. It's history. You know, no one can take that away from us. One guy
came up to me at Malaga, were like, Huddersfield Town, Huddersfield, I've been there. What a place. I was like laughing my head off because but yeah, that's a good pub. But it's like, it's brilliant, isn't it? I don't think you realise that, you know, how much like outside of Huddersfield that we're kind of respecting and that as well. It was just pleasurable. I just had a feeling. I thought it's a bit of a strange thing to do because I was in Malaga blue and white, and it's a bit of a lighter blue. I that blue, but I thought, bollocks, but even if we lose against Hull, I'm going in that shirt. And it would amazing, like, Huddersfield, Huddersfield, people coming past. It's like, this is just crazy, man.
Amazing. Yeah, so
what a way to end it.
Yeah, and then Wednesday night we're playing again against our old men. I just want to kind of kick it on tonight, Matt. So I've watched quite a few games this weekend through different kind of glasses, shall we say. But one thing I've noticed, West Brom, they weren't all that, mate. They got Carl and Grant, great finish, but Birmingham were awful. West Brom were pretty average. Fulham were all over the shop. They ended up winning, but QPR, obviously Chris Willett scored a nice goal, ex-Town and that as well. And, you know, the same today, Cardiff were horrendous and Swansea were all that. What I'm trying to say is, and all we mentioned it, didn't we, on text before, not maybe I'm getting kind of weird, but this, I don't think it would take much to get up there and stay in there and have that challenge, you know, for the players and stuff like that as well. When I watched that game, it was very efficient. They were crap, to be fair, though, but I just don't think there's no outstanding like Norwich, Watford, and that as well. They had a bit of quality, but it is impressive. And then another kind of angle on it and that as well. Watford and Liverpool on another telly, and it just reminded me of like how it is in the Premier League. Watford were absolute rubbish. Liverpool it was embarrassing. Like a training ground. Like Richard Keys and Andy Gray, they're kind of big over here. Anyone who's come abroad, they know they're all on being sports. Like, what's the point of Watford coming up? They shouldn't get a parachute payment. Rubbish, though. The worst team in Premier League apart from Derby. I thought he was going to mention Huddersfield here. But it's like, what I'm trying to say is like, the Championship is where it's at. It's so much more fun. You don't know what's going to happen. I just think, like, them Watford fans, I was excited is that to see Salah just, like, doing what he's done and that as well. It just brought it home, pause that. Yeah, I want to do as well as we can, but would we want to get back? There's such a goal in there and that as well. And I just think Norwich fans, they know they're pretty much already. Watford pretty much, unless Ranieri can do some magic, it's, you know, even Leeds are struggling. I just love the fact we don't know what's going to happen. Like Wednesday night, Birmingham could beat us and we like, but we think we can win, but we might lose. And I love that unpredictability. You don't get that in the Premier League now.
I say flip that before you jump in, pause, but you flip that and Brighton are 4th and Brentford are 8th, you know, so if you run correctly and the structure's right. I don't think our structure was right when we got promoted last time. It was pretty much, you know, I still always say David Wagner dragged this football club kicking and screaming into the Premier League in many ways. But, you know, the proof is there. If you get your structure, your organisation, and you get your MO right and you stick to it, good things can happen.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing. I think we know we ultimately played a massive price, not just in relegation, but, you know, we're kind of only just sort of starting to turn the corner and recover from that. And you're dead right there. Without going into it again, because we've said it many times, and near the backroom staff and the people in charge of departments weren't used to working with that sort of environment and that sort of pressure and that sort of budgets and that sort of stuff. And hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you look at the infrastructure at the club now, and I know we touched on it last week with David Hartrick, and I think if we got promoted this season again, it would potentially again do a lot more harm than good, because you'd have the euphoria maybe of getting promoted. You'd just have another season of losing football again, for the most part. And I think actually in the long run, getting promoted again would be, don't get me wrong, it would swell the coffers in the bank account. You'd have to learn from before and maybe just say, look, we won't spend a penny. We'll take a thumping every week. But as a fan, you don't really want to go and watch that. So, if we finish top 10 this year, flirting around the playoffs for most of the season, you'd take that, wouldn't you?
I was having out with Swansea fan last couple of days, and they were like, you're like us, you've been there, you've done the Premiership, you've done it. It was almost like we've achieved what we're going to do. Just have some fun in that as well. And he wouldn't decide to get up anytime soon and that as well. And I think the thing that was kind of interesting there is like they've beaten Cardiff. They had more seasons than us in the Premier League and that as well. But he's not asked to get back, and like he goes like season card over and stuff like that as well. It's just like, I think the Newcastle thing just is taking it away from me now. It's like to get there and to have an impact, you've only got to hear our neighbours down the road now, rumblings are happening out there all of a sudden. But I could tell them, mate, to get anywhere, you've got to have serious cash. And they're not going to be happy to like leave mid-table. They're not even that now. So it is a dilemma, but I'm enjoying what we're doing. But you want to be as good as you can be. It's such a tough one. I know what you're saying, Brentford, Matt, but we could say Sheffield United, we could throw that out there to you and that as well. Look what happened there. But I think the British game is so frustrating, though, and it's just like, there's no one really with any kind of story. Stoke stayed there 8 seasons, didn't they? And Swansea, I think he told me that 5 seasons and stuff. Obviously, we had 2, but really, eventually, you're going to come Norwich, just like up and down, West Brom up and down. And I don't know, I just having much more fun switching, like go to the games on a Saturday now, thinking what's going to happen where, mate, when Watford v Liverpool, I could have told you, mate, we could have said what was going to happen.
You actually said in our WhatsApp thing 5-0 when it was 2-0, didn't you? So and there you go, it happened 5-0.
But they'd spent so much money. I thought Richard Keys were like, well, they should with all the. I was like, you've not done your homework, mate, because they spent like 7 million on players, so they should be doing better, like you said, Matt, and that as well. They should be doing better, but the gap is seismic, man. It's just so big, but I just think we've got to enjoy what we're doing and that as well, and see what happens. But it's like Oli said earlier on in that text, there's going to be a place or two maybe in them top 6 where someone you'd never have predicted could get there. So why not Huddersfield Town? But maybe I've had a drink too many.
I think that's probably. I think it's a good place to end the pod as well, isn't it? So that, I
think you're probably right.
We're all happy. Kozi's extra happy. He's back in Spain. The sun's shining. The vitamin D is glowing from Pozza, from Kosi, and as well as the beers that he's drinking as well. So I think that's a good place. It's been a fun pod, is this? So thanks to everybody for getting in touch with. On the football forum. Thanks to Kosi for tuning in from España. It's a lot of fun supporting Huddersfield Town at the moment. So, and long may that continue, even if it goes up to the Premier League. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back for episode 120 next week.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So Town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So Town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.